This is GKW. Welcome to another edition of Good Karma Wrestling. I'm Gabe Neitzel from ESPN Milwaukee, where it is cold and snowy. In warm and sunny Florida, from ESPN West Palm, our friend Brian Rowitz. And also where, again, Milwaukee, Chicago. I'm assuming you're about to get the same snowstorm we're getting, Jay Hood. From ESPN 1000 in Chicago, he is Jonathan Hood.
Okay. 60s today.
Out. If he wasn't running the show, I say we kick him out.
That's right. Man, put your hood down. Put your hood down, for God's sakes. You're in sunny
today.
Sunny Florida, where you can't get away from, great sports there. The Owls is on TV again. They're on ESPN2. My God, you talk about sunshine, not just with wrestling, but just everything. The Owls on ESPN2. They're on ESPN Radio every other game. I mean, Brian Rhodes is part of Drew Silk. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
He's doing great. And he's going to be our GKW representative, we found out this week, at the Royal Rumble. He's going to be heading...
Come on, Trop. Let's go to the Trop.
Let's go.
To cover the Royal Rumble, which I am jealous for because I've never been to a Rumble. Rumble is my favorite event. We'll get to some Rumble content later in the show. But right now, where we begin, our opening segment here on GKW, Tony Khan keeps just violating the number one rule of Twitter, and that's don't tweet. All right? That's number one rule. Don't tweet. If you have to tweet, don't tweet the way that he does. So is this becoming a detriment, the way that he has to take to Twitter to either defend himself or go after WWE? This week he goes after them because Jinder Mahal, who knows the last time he actually won a televised match, but he is getting a world championship opportunity next week on Monday Night Raw. So he starts going after Jinder Mahal and he does all these things. Is Tony Khan on Twitter best for business for AEW?
It is not best for business because the numbers show that it's not best for business. If Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman were around during Twitter, they'd be doing the same thing because you're trying to punch up, right? The WWE is the big company. And so Paul Heyman, go through the history of ECW. Heyman's promos or some of his wrestlers always are taking a shot at the WWE. And the same thing with Eric Bischoff. There's plenty. And if you look very closely at the battle on Twitter between Tony Khan and Eric Bischoff, there's videos that's popping up of Bischoff trying to fight Vince McMahon. But again, there was no Twitter at the time, so you had to do it in the ring. So what I would say is that, you're the number 2 company in North America, bro. What's the point of you trying to punch at the WWE? Do you think that if you just put it out there and say, hey, I'm fighting Jinder Mahal and saying Jinder Mahal's not that special, make sure you tune in Wednesday. Well, if that helped, the numbers would be better. The awareness is there, but the numbers aren't there. You don't have to do that. You are solidified. You had 81,000 people or more in the UK last year. Why is that necessary?
And it's also weird because the one part, he's going after Jinder and the fact that he's fighting for the world title Monday. He's tweeting at the USA Network account. Like, the intern running that account is not working for WWE. Like, why are you going at that account? Like, what does that accomplish?
That's a great touch, going after the USA account on Twitter. Look,
also, just so you have, Gabe, for facts here, the last time Jinder won on TV, January 10th of last year, he won on NXT. So I don't know if you count that. If you do not.
No, technically that's on television. That still counts.
Well, if we don't want to count it, June 3rd of 2022, he won on SmackDown against Humberto. So world title match Monday night against Rollins.
Hey, good for him. Getting that, a year and a half ago, getting that big win over Humberto. Look, but here's the thing, WWE, I think, made that one make sense. And I understand that Tony Khan's trying to do, and then with the Samoa Joe promo that you got last night, hey, show us your resume, show us, so they're trying to bring back that aspect of AEW, of the records matter, and you got to earn your title shot and that sort of thing with Samoa Joe. Look, I just don't, bringing this undue heat upon yourself and have everyone just again, because I don't understand it. I don't understand why Eric Bischoff seemingly hates AEW, because you would think that he would understand about competition being a good thing. Clearly he doesn't. And also Eric Bischoff has accepted money from Tony Khan to appear on AEW a couple of different times. So I don't know if the checks, weren't big enough or whatever the deal was. But you just don't need to bring this undue heat on you at this, kind of transitional, might be too strong of a word for AEW, but MJF is going to be out for presumably a long period of time. You have a new world champion. The way that Adam Cole and Samoa Joe are talking about this kind of being a new era of AEW. Like you're kind of pivoting a little bit, kind of operate in the weeds a little bit before you start popping out and attacking Raw for throwing how many times has AEW thrown a random championship on television? And that's basically what this is for Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, with Eric Bischoff and his podcast, it's all revisionist history, and he blames everybody except himself for the failure of WCW. It's Kevin Sullivan. It's Kevin Sullivan. It's Ric Flair. It's Kevin Nash. The rain was coming that day, so I couldn't see the ring. Or Sting didn't have a tan, and all this other stuff, right? Or it's always someone else except him. He never accepts the big responsibility for the failure of WCW and the money that was lost there. And so but you're right, Gabe. The point is well made in which you say, if you're Eric Bischoff and you failed twice, because it wasn't just WCW, it was TNA as well. Which
he blamed on Dixie this week, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's definitely on Dixie. Oh, that's definitely on Dixie it was.
He did not hesitate for a second. He's like, no, TNA's not on me. That was all Dixie. That was I told her not to bring in all these big stars, and like, oh, okay, Eric, cool.
Yes, but also you supported, but you and Hogan kind of pushed her into going head-to-head against Raw on Monday nights. Do you recall this, right? You recall TNA being on Monday nights against Raw and then, of course, you got to travel. You got to get out and travel and be out there live. They lost money big time because of Bischoff's influence. Look what I did with Nitro. We were traveling across the country. Then you see TNA in Salt Lake, and there was like 5 people there in the darkness, okay, because that was their suggestion. So Bischoff always is trying to push the buck and trying to blame someone else for the failures that he's had in TNA and WCW. So, but your point, Gabe, was right. You would think that he can relate, trying to be the second company and figuring out how you could fit in the marketplace. Instead of being against Tony Khan, you should say, hey, you know what? There's some good things he does and some things he needs to work on. Mm-hmm. And what I would say is I made a lot of mistakes. So if I'm Tony Khan, I make sure that I don't do those same mistakes. Bischoff doesn't say that, but yet there's a Twitter battle between the two. It's nonsense.
Also, like, what's the upside if you're Tony Khan? Like, I understand if you're this small company, or even if you're AEW on day one, where it's like, hey, Eric Bischoff mentioned us. Like, he's watching the product. Like, if you're a GCW, that's a good moment. Because then maybe someone says, oh, what is this company? Let me go search them out. If you're AEW, you don't need that random rub. Like, you have names working for you. You have Adam Copeland. You're going to have Will Ospreay. What is the upside if you're Tony Khan?
No, there's not. I mean, because again, let's be honest. There's no upside for any of us ever tweeting ever. Like, there's zero upside to again, rule number 1 of Twitter is don't tweet. Right. Especially if you're going to be attacking somebody else. Like, that's it. Yeah, there's just no upside. I don't because I don't think that somebody is, to kind of the points you guys are making, is like, nobody is seeing this. Oh, he burned him. He absolutely annihilated Triple H and Jinder Mahal. You know what? I'm tuning in on Wednesday and Friday and Saturday. I don't think anybody's doing that. So I don't see the upside of deciding to go after Jinder Mahal.
So there's some new things happening in AEW. As we've been documenting on the show, there's new front office people, some people that's been in the company a long time, they're leaving, and new people are coming in. Well, now that you're 5 years old, it's time to grow up, right? You have the company for 5 years. And so the number one thing in January after all this is someone should take the Twitter account away from Tony Khan. Take it away from him. Going after the USA Network. And by the way, shout out to the one kid that knows wrestling in the USA Network that mentioned, was it Cage
match?
Fight?
Yes.
Cage match. Yeah, mentioned that as a clapback to Tony Khan. There's no reason for, as the head of AEW, for you to be going back and forth and be part of this discourse. Because you know what? You can never win. There are more WWE fans than AEW fans. That's just a fact. Because it's generational, because there are generations among generation of WWE fans that support that product. You don't have to be that guy. All you have to do is support your team. Your team's AEW. And all you have to do is just continue to promote, let people know where they can find tickets, and then get the hell off of Twitter. Right. The idea that you're fighting with other people about your product makes you less than. He is more of a baby than CEO when he does that. And that's just not good. That's not good for business at all.
Again, the only time he should be tweeting are the, hey, look what's coming up on our shows this week, and the thank you everybody for watching, right? Like
Right.
those
That's
are
what
really the only.
that's what Triple
tweets.
H does. That's what Triple H does, because he didn't tweet a lot either. But now that he has autonomy, he just promotes. That's what he does. Thank you for watching. Here's NXT coming up on Tuesday. Here's where you can get tickets to Perth, Australia. That's what he does. He doesn't get into the mud. But you know why? Because when you're the leader of the pack, you never look what's behind you.
Yeah, but don't like say Hunter's scot free. He was Piss and Company. That started there.
Well, that's verbal.
Oh,
that's a
okay.
promo. That's he did say that. He said that to Billy Gunn at the Hall of Fame, right? You're Piss and Company. Yeah.
Again, which again, you decided to load up NXT anytime that the pissant company's going up against NXT, so you can try to artificially boost a rating. Like, it's wrestling. Trash talk is going to exist.
Yeah, that whole competition thing and WWE being petty, they've been petty forever. There's no question. But they're not going to get into a pissing match on Twitter. That's my point. Like, they've always been petty. From Vince to Triple H now, they've always been petty. Like, okay, we're going to knock out AEW and we're going to do this. We're going to load up the card here, or we're going to make sure that we squash them. I get it. I get that part of it, but that's business from their standpoint. But you don't see them be in a Twitter fight. They don't do that. At least not Triple H.
Right.
Yeah, at least not Triple H. That is correct. We've got some other top stories we want to jump to as well today. We like to call it the 3 count, the other top 3 stories in the world of professional wrestling. Brian, what do we have this week?
I'm not sure if you guys heard, there have been some coaching changes in the world of professional sports. Yesterday, Nick Saban retiring. Today, Bill Belichick and the Patriots parting ways after lots and lots of years together. So this translated to pro wrestling. Who in wrestling will never leave their current promotions?
That's good. That's good stuff, right? That's good stuff. That's a great question.
I honestly only feel like there's kind of a handful. Like, I can see, especially when we're talking about AEW, WWE, because I think, people from TNA, people from, NWA would jump at the opportunity to join any one of those, 2 companies. So I'm just looking at the 2. Won't leave the promotion. I think I started with AEW, and the only 2 names I kept coming back to were Darby and Mox. Like, I think those 2, just like Mox, with the way he left, it seems like he's really happy with the way things are going in AEW. And, like, I just don't see Darby Allin's style working in WWE. Like, the second he does one of those suicide dives to Seth Rollins, Seth is going, no, man, like, what are we doing? Like, what?
On a house show. On a
stop. Yes,
night.
at a house show. Yes. What? No, we don't. You don't need to throw your shoulder into me that hard. What are you doing, man? So I don't see Darby necessarily working at WWE. So that's the reason I came up with those 2 for AEW. I don't see those guys going anywhere.
Vince would have loved Darby, though, just as a Mighty Mouse, just as an attraction. He would have loved. He would love. Now Triple H maybe not as much, but I think that Vince would have said, "Look at this little bastard! God damn, he's all over the place." Then from there, oh my, look at that! Oh, what a maneuver! He would have loved that guy's like, well, if he's gonna hurt himself, I mean, because you know why? Because it took some convincing for even Mick Foley to come to WWE. You don't think that Vince saw that death match nonsense and him, flying around in Continental and World Class? He saw Mick Foley was like, and thought, garbage wrestler. And then finally he'd be convinced, no, this guy can work. And it's like, all right, bring him in. As a matter of fact, the story is Jim Ross said, I'm going to bring in Mick Foley. And Vince told Jim Ross, he goes, you know what? I'm going to let you bring him in. I'm going to show you how wrestlers can break your heart.
Wow.
He said, I'll do that. I'll let you bring him in because I want you to learn the lesson of how wrestlers can break your heart. Mick Foley became world champion, Hall of Famer.
Whoops.
There you go. Yep.
So I would say AEW, I had a couple more. I agree with Darby and Mox. The other 2 I put on there, I feel like Hangman's one of those guys that's just sort of content and happy. Like, he could be a star in the WWE, but also he'd be like, I'm good just working once in a while. And the other guy, and talking about never working in the WWE, Eddie Kingston. Like, you can never trust him with a microphone. He doesn't have the Vince look. Like, I think he's an AEW lifer at this point.
That's a good point with Kingston. That's a very good point. Like, he can't be trusted. You cannot like run him out there on USA or wherever Raw ends up now with, all right, here's a live microphone, Eddie.
Right.
Here are your talking points. Here's what you have to hit. Like, no, he's not doing any of those things.
I would love to see footage of someone in the back giving him talking points for a promo, though, just to see that conversation.
Oh my God.
Stop listing these Japanese wrestlers. Nobody knows what you're talking about, Eddie. Yeah, but no, those are my heroes. I got to give them a shout out.
There's Samantha Irvin. Please welcome Eddie Kingston. And he runs down the ramp too fast for the camera to catch him. He pushes the camera aside. Yo, it hits the thing. I know I gotta do this promo, right? I gotta do this promo. I know I got 3 minutes. Don't wrap me up. In the back, they'd be like, "Oh my God, What is wrong with this guy? That's not what we asked him to talk about." And I don't wrap me up, WWE. I know it's different out here. You guys are sports entertainment, but let me just tell you, I got this match right. He's like doing his own thing. Could you imagine? They would
the
be
first time he's referred to as a sports entertainer.
Oh my God! Could you imagine? Eddie, that's not what we asked you to say. I don't care. He would just do his own thing. That would be something, man.
Yeah.
My thoughts for Kawada. He was so great to me. He meant so. Who? Who? He'd be listing all these All Japan wrestlers. Oh my God! So I did need help on the AEW side because I think you guys had some great names there. I mean, I was gonna go for the joke there and give you like John Silver, and Brandon Cutler. And maybe Roosh. So those some names there. Roosh too difficult and too much for WWE TV. Roosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Again, this is the second he chops Roman Reigns a little too hard. Paul Heyman just in the corner going, "What? No."
I was gonna go with the jokes of like Griff Garrison and Evil Uno that would never be in the WWE, but my serious ones on the WWE side, like Roman Reigns is WWE lifer. Right.
See, okay, so
fair.
I initially I have Roman written down, but I put a question mark next to it just because.
No.
Like, supposedly they want him, or the rumor is now maybe they want him to hold on to the title long enough to pass a reign that Hogan had or whatever. Like, at the height of Hulk Hogan's run, everybody thought he was probably a WWE lifer, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So I guess I could see it with Roman, but the problem is like they just don't have too many of those part-timers at this point. My guess is I think Roman's probably a WWE lifer at this point because if WWE doesn't have anything for him, my guess is he's probably made enough money at this point where he's like, I don't need this. Maybe he goes and tries to, make a couple $7 promotion movies or something. I don't know. But it seems like if he's not in WWE, he wouldn't. But again, I think just because he's that champion that we all associate, it was the same thing with Hogan when he initially went to WCW.
Now along those lines, like if he ever got that itch of wanting to work more, like wanting to show what he can do in the ring, and like there isn't something there under Hunter, I could see one day him be like, you know what, this ain't for me anymore.
That all depends on if AEW has a WCW renaissance where they take over for WWE. You know what I'm saying? Like that means that in the ratings, revenue, everything else, now the number one brand for more than 83 weeks would actually be AEW. Now that's the only way I'd see Roman Reigns going over. It's like, okay, WWE's in the mud, boy, they're struggling, and I don't think they'll ever struggle again because if they can't, say for instance. And this sounds crazy, Gabe. There could be a situation where WWE is in such trouble, like, well, it's not worth it working here in America. Let's just put our shows in Canada. We'll just be a regional show in Toronto, or we'll just go international because it doesn't work. WWE had to do that before. WWE was in such financial strain that they went to like Kuwait and they went to Mexico, other places just to make money. So I don't think the WWE will ever be in that shape. I wrote down Roman Reigns. I think Randy Orton also is a WWE lifer.
Yeah.
He could have left before, went to Japan someplace else. He's in the twilight. He's not leaving. Also, Miz is never leaving WWE.
No, he's not going anywhere. Yes. No, give him the Jordan Belfort. I'm not leaving. Yeah. Yes. I'm not going anywhere.
Yes. Could you imagine? It's just like, yeah, Miz, we're cutting you. But New Japan's available. Huh? Yeah. No, thank you. He doesn't want to.
Okada.
Could you imagine that? Rainmaker! Like in 3 seconds, it'll be all over. Bam! It'll be all over for Miz. And you know what I wrote down as a dark horse, bro? I wrote down Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, I wrote down Charlotte and Becky. And I know Becky's deal's coming up, but I don't know. I just see both of them at this point. I don't see them going anywhere. Again, Charlotte, I think, could potentially have other options. I mean, there's always whispers out there before the unfortunate knee injury that she had that, oh, maybe she has a career in Hollywood. Maybe she can be that next crossover star. So to the point where, okay, would she, I mean, I know Rick went over there, but but her husband is coming back to WWE, presumably, right? So I can't imagine her being outside of WWE as well. And then, I mean, for the joke one, I mean, I put Punk because
Could you say never though?
No, you can't. Again,
if he called Tony tomorrow, he's working Dynamite next week.
The door's always open.
Right.
The door's always open. Anything that you want to do, the door's always open. Like it. I mean, but again, it's up to AEW. Say, for instance, AEW starts to get on that roll where they can be able to have great not only arena attendance but stadium attendance, where now you're neck and neck with it. You won't reach WWE's financial status, but as far as perception, and now you're now there's a possibility because now you're making more money, and Gabe, the TV deal makes a big difference for the next 5 to 10 years, whatever AEW is going to get.
Would you put Cody on the list?
No, I think Cody's going to eventually end up back in AEW.
He's like his old man. He's like his old man because he gets bored. Like Dusty comes over there with the polka dots, common man, dancing around. Yeah, after 3 years, he was done. Right back to WCW. Like, I think that Cody wants to finish the story, be the champion, and then after another cycle, gone.
So for me, otherwise, WWE, Miz was the only like in-ring I had. The others I sort of wrote down were Michael Cole feels WWE lifer. I don't see him working anywhere else. And do you put Shawn and Hunter on the list?
Well, Michael, for sure, he wants to retire soon.
Right.
Well, he's a little raspy in Portland, by the way. It's like, boy, that age is starting to kick in. That travel.
No wonder no wonder he didn't want to work both shows anymore. That's a tough schedule, man.
He made the comment recently. He was just like, I think it was last year. He said, I'm only going to do this for a few more years, and then I'm going to disappear, and no one will ever hear from me again.
Yep.
That's
good for him. Good for him, because, man, I'll tell you what, that dude's underrated. Like, he is so underrated. Like, I enjoy it when he's on there. Obviously, Vince no longer being in his ear, I think, has really opened him up and freed him up a little bit. But that dude deserves a lot more respect from wrestling fans.
I think he's set there.
Who's the other? Oh, you said, Triple H and Hunter. No, that's not going to happen. Yeah. And again, that all depends on AEW. What if, right? But just the way the infrastructure is right now, it just seems like anything else, right? TNA had a little bit of a run. AEW with a run now. WCW had a run. But is it sustainable? And we don't know the answer to that until we see the next TV deal. And I think that's only fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we keep going with that list, though. I mean, there's Luther, never going to be in WWE. We can keep going with this list.
We got a comment here, saying Seth Rollins. I could easily see Seth Rollins in AEW, especially given his love of the industry. Like, you're telling me eventually Seth Rollins maybe not wants to go head to head with a Will Ospreay or with some of the talent over in New Japan or Wrestle Kingdom. I could see Seth Rollins in a couple of years jumping over to AEW the same way that Bryan Danielson did. Where it's like, hey, you know what? I've kind of wrestled everybody here. I've done everything there is to do here. Man, Wrestle Kingdom would be a lot of fun.
And to do it on good terms.
Short run over there. Yeah,
like, I feel like Bryan's going to end up working for WWE again. Like, he's going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. Like, Rollins could go that same exact path.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Nick Camarado.
Oh, of course, yes. I don't know. He's got a Vince look. They can work with him.
See, stop bringing Vince up. Vince is not there.
He's still sort of there. Camarado and a dancing gimmick in WWE, it would work perfect for him.
Keith Lee.
Yeah. Is he even in AEW? Like,
man, just
come on.
It's just
low blow.
It's sad now. Now it's sad. Johnny TV. Just keep going. I mean, it's just like
no. I mean, Johnny TV is going to still work everywhere. Like, Johnny TV still has at least one stop in every company.
There is no Lucha Underground for him to go to. He's running out of places.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's gonna take another lap. He's got he's completed the circle, and now he's gonna go around again. God, he's gonna be Miz's tag team partner again. Like, we do the whole thing. It'll work out.
He's ageless, man. You can't even tell how old he is. He's still got the same great body. I mean,
No, who's more ageless, him or R-Truth?
Ooh.
Oh, I think it's R-Truth, dude. I mean,
I want to look up how old they actually are.
I think R-Truth is like 50.
I think Gabe said last week he was like 50, 51, something like that.
51. I think R-Truth is 51.
He's going to be 52 in a week.
Yeah. And that dude's doing some great. But okay, since I brought it up, but I texted you guys this earlier today. Who's doing better backstage segments right now? Is it R-Truth or is it Tony Storm?
Johnny TV 44, by the way.
Who's doing better backstage work? Boy, Tony Storm. But then we saw that vignette from R-Truth, which was hilarious.
Yeah. It was so good.
A lifelong dream.
It took my childhood hero John Cena gimmick and it turned it up a notch of lifelong. Like the picture of the 5 babies, like with the different layers. Perfect. Like it was. Like, I didn't think somebody would be able to give Tony Storm a run for her money, and then R-Truth just comes along, and the guy is just so good.
The thing with Tony, though, is like I'm legit excited for the Wendy Richter payoff because like that's the path we're going down. Like she keeps calling her out. She thought she was there last night. Like we're gonna get Wendy Richter at one point, and that's gonna be exciting.
I think the 3 of us get it. I hope the audience gets how funny that is. And I think Wendy probably has one more match left. We think Medusa has one more match left. So just Wendy Richter, and no, it's not her. Oh, sorry. It's pretty funny. I don't know, man. I'm giving the slight edge to Tony because Tony's been doing it a little longer because R-Truth just got back. But just the R-Truth stuff, man. And by the way, that is an inside joke from what I understand from WWE. That is Triple H 100%. He thinks R-Truth is the funniest dude ever because he keeps getting all this mic time. You know, and Vince didn't get it as much as Triple H gets it, and that's why that R-Truth is in the limelight there to give a little bit more color, a little bit more levity to the Judgment Day.
Awesome.
He's always been that way. Somebody posted because again, R-Truth. I can't remember where I saw it, but a promo that he cut getting ready for like Money in the Bank or something, and Kane went and it was like corporate Kane was like in charge of the whole thing in the suit, and he's. Truth, you aren't even in this match.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not? All right, you know what? That's on me. That's my bad. Like he does, and guys are just dying in the ring. Like guys are just doubling over because Truth is like, you know what?
Rumble
honest
shows
mistake.
Up with the ladder.
That's on me.
Like when he sets up the ladder in the middle of the Rumble, like thinking it's Money in the Bank, and it's like, what are we doing? Like,
just the idea that he could hold on to it and everyone else is laughing. I mean, this is purposely done. Just like we're gonna put this out there to see if you guys. I mean, Damian Priest has just been cracking up the entire time. This is the era of the crack up. Yeah. Vince wouldn't have never allowed this. Serious, goddamn. He would have. There's no way he would have allowed all of this nonsense. Whether it's Sami Zayn or R-Truth, it's just fun. It's fun when they do that.
What do we got at number 2 this week, Brian?
We are a little over 2 weeks away from the Royal Rumble. Little teaser starting to be played. So with the men's Rumble, let's make our predictions now. Who should the final 4 of this year's Rumble be?
So I wrote down 4 names, and I realize right now it's Raw heavy, and because all 4 of them are from Raw. But that's because over on SmackDown, it feels like the Royal Rumble's kind of been an afterthought. You know, I mean, they set up the Fatal 4-Way for Roman, but, I mean, outside of Bobby Lashley declaring this week, I don't know if you've had a lot of people over on SmackDown declaring. So it's really been more of a running theme through the shows on Raw. So I think the final 4 at the Rumble that makes the most sense, I would say Cody. Because I guess my parameters for this were, it has to seem, in the final 4, you know, it makes sense. Yep. You can, see it happening in your head. And, even if, the 4th guy on this list has a long shot chance, like the crowd might get excited with the thought of him potentially doing it. I think of when, I can't remember who the 4th one was, but it was when we were on the track of Triple H versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And the crowd was really rejecting Roman. And I know the final 3 that year were Roman, Triple H, and at the time, Dean Ambrose. And the crowd really got behind Dean. And so I just kind of copying off of that idea. So I went Cody, Punk, Drew, and my 4th one was Jay. Where I think you can make all 4 of those make sense storyline-wise. And I think especially with Jay, like if Jay ends up making it to the final 2, like I think the crowd starts to buzz a little bit about Jay with the thought of him being, back against Roman.
Guys, what do you think of this 4? Cody, Drew, Carmelo Hayes, Punk. Carmelo Hayes, maybe he gets an early draw and they just want to see what he can do. How can you sustain yourself? Because that's just as a start for the future. He's probably the first to be eliminated out of those 4. And I just think that tells a story of, hey, we're putting this kid in the spotlight. This is your future star for 2025. So, and people will remember that. So what about
kind of put him in that Gunther spot? Because Gunther last year, he was the Iron Man, started 1 or 2 or whatever, and lasted all the way to the Final 4.
And I think to your point, Gabe, I like that 4th spot being reserved for sort of that wild card to where maybe, like, I feel like Dolph usually would end up there where it's like, is this a year? Like, is Dolph going to do it? And then, of course, he never is. So that's why I had the same 3 of Cody, Drew, Punk. My 4th, I had like KO or Sammy to sort of get that tease. And the other one sort of way out there. What about Gable? Like, I know they sort of cooled him off recently, but he had such a strong year, almost as a reward of like, hey, you had a hell of a year. Go be the Final 4 in this.
Well, I think you could do kind of Gable in that same vein of Carmelo Hayes because you know the dude could be the Iron Man. You could throw him in there at 3 or 4, and he ends up in that Final 4, going the distance, doing crazy things, showing off his strength, eliminating some bigger superstars along the way. I think you could easily do that for Gable. Sammy could be exciting potentially.
Is he healthy? Is he ready to go?
Well, he wrestled in the house shows that they did, or at least made appearance. I guess I don't know if he actually wrestled. I just know he appeared up in Montreal when they were doing their holiday tour, and he appeared a couple of those shows. He hasn't been on TV for a while because they wrote him off. So I don't know. I mean, that would be a nice surprise. Yeah. You hear Worlds Apart. He'd get a pretty good pop for that.
He wrestled, late December. He worked those house shows.
Yeah, he worked. Okay. So I wasn't sure. I knew he had tweeted out that he was going to make the appearances. Yeah. I guess I didn't even know if he actually wrestled or not.
So just a lot of matches against Finn, and then him and KO versus Dom and Finn. So he's been there.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't make sense to go to Montreal without Sammy. So that was part of the holiday tour. Like, you have Sami Zayn, you're in Montreal. You kind of have to put the 2 together if you want the crowd to go home happy even a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm ready to be hurt again though if he's Final 4. Like me to get my hopes up. Like, is this happening? And then of course it's not.
You don't know how complicated that was under Vince, by the way, what you just laid out about Montreal. We need a Canadian. Sir, Sami Zayn is from Montreal. He is? Well, goddamn, bring him in. Like that's what I mean. Seriously, sometimes he'd forget that. It seems obvious to us, but sometimes he had to be reminded. Like, you have Canadians on the roster. I think that'd probably go good on the tour, sir. Okay, we'll do that. But I like these 4. With Drew McIntyre, though, he's getting to the point now, Gabe, where, yes, great promo segment with Punk to start off Raw. You get to the point now that you're not necessarily with him anymore. You're not sure if he's ever going to be able to win the big one. You're not a Money in the Bank guy. You've lost on TV for Seth's championship. You've had your opportunities, and it's like there's a heel that's there. There's bitterness there, but what does that mean?
Right. Does it do anything for you if he's the one that beats Gunther?
You think that's the match at the Rumble or WrestleMania?
At Mania? I'm just trying to think of other solutions. They're obviously not putting the world title on him. I agree. Like, he has to win something at some point.
I could still see something where, honestly, I could still see him winning the Rumble. I could see him in WrestleMania and then having Priest cash in on him immediately.
Who's WrestleMania? Which one? 25? I mean, because he's but I mean the character. Here's a weird thing. It's like, you know what Drew McIntyre is? He's Hangman Page, in that hot character. But now what's next? Like, Drew McIntyre is not going to be anywhere around the title picture, even though he keeps bitching about it. Like, he's just a guy that's complaining and has really banger matches, but not really in the title picture. Same thing with Hangman Page. Page can go face to face with Samoa Joe, but even though I like Page, especially now, he feels like a heel. I don't know he's going to win a championship this year.
Well, no, he's a hanger-on. Both of them are like, they both had opportunities. They both had banger matches, right? Again, you want to bring up Hangman Page. I mean, his feud with Swerve was probably one of the best feuds that AEW did in all of 2023. But instead of moving on, he's kind of hanging on and trying to go for the ride that Swerve is, where Drew's just kind of trying to hang on. At this point, it's to CM Punk. as Punk is escalating in WWE.
These are the contenders at work, guys. It's kind of like, okay, what's the best matchup? All right, Nakamura, we need you to work with Cody just to heat up Cody. Okay, Punk, you needed to work with McIntyre to heat up Punk. That's kind of what it is. And you fall into that. That's not mid-card. That's just saying we trust you as an opponent to get someone else over. That's where Drew is right now. But I still like the idea of Drew just because his promos have been great and believable
and awesome.
to be in that 4. But I like Carmelo Hayes because that's something that no one would be looking for. And then he can prove himself in that Rumble.
I mean, I honestly did think about Knock as that wild card 4th spot, just as a reward for the feuds that he had with Seth, with Cody. Hey, you did a hell of a job. We've built you up into this thing. Go out there at the Royal Rumble, put on a show, be that 4th guy, get my hopes up that they actually might do something with Nakamura, and then throw him over the top rope.
The other one I throw in, sort of like the same reasoning. What about Dirty Dom?
How about him draw number 2 then?
Yeah. And like him being the cowardly heel, but still just somehow hanging on and being there at the end. You're like, oh no, they're not going to give it to him, are they? Like, that gets some good heat.
You want to prove himself? Be out there for 50. Dom's been out there for an hour and 10 minutes. Dying out there. It's like, sure, you got to heat somebody up. I believe in that spot, and
yes.
Dom would be great because here's the thing: could the crowd keep up the booing in Tampa that long
for an hour?
Yes, it's just like you keep out there that long, you turn a babyface.
Yeah. Well, he takes some rest.
He just gets tired. They get tired of booing. They're like, all right, we can't boo this guy anymore. We got to start cheering him. Booing him's taking too much effort, guys.
Yeah, he hangs out in the corner a lot of the match, and then someone comes out that gets a huge pop. He squares off with Dom. Like, you do it up and down. It'll work out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love the chicken shit heel roll in the Royal Rumble or Battle Royal. That's the best.
You roll out of the ring underneath that bottom rope.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Plenty of things you could do to get even, again, because no matter what he does, he's getting nuclear heat. So I don't mind Dom in that spot, but it seems like we all agree that Cody, Punk, and Drew are going to be 3 of the 4.
Yep.
Yes. And when does Punk draw? Was it 29? Tired?
Yeah. I mean, are we going to see him wrestle or the house show only thing at this point?
I mean, I think they're trying to do his first televised match, doing the full circle thing of his last televised match in WWE was the Rumble of 14. So his first televised match of his return will be the Rumble, to kind of close the 10-year loop.
So his first singles match that we see is in Australia at 6 a.m. Eastern.
And you know what? That's smart. If that's the case, smart booking, pal. That'll be better booking than how AEW had him on a random rampage. And that's why Punk got hurt because he was wrestling unnecessarily. For Tony Khan, he needed an ROI quickly, so he kept putting him on shows. And it's kind of I'll never forget Milwaukee, man. I'll never forget. We get the first dance. Is it the first dance, right? In Chicago?
Yeah, first dance, yep. Mm-hmm.
First dance, and then I drove to Milwaukee, and the first thing out of Punk's mouth is, "You guys tired of me yet?" You just saw me in Chicago, gave me all this adulation, in Milwaukee. You guys tired of me yet? I'm out here again with a mic again. Not special. Right. Not special. WWE's doing the best job, and that's how you handle a veteran, right? That's how you handle a veteran. It's like, okay, we know that you've had some injury issues. We're going to use you sparingly and keep you fresh to Rumble, Elimination Chamber, or WrestleMania.
Yeah, they'll probably. My guess is he'll have 2 televised matches on Raw between the Rumble and Mania.
Okay.
You guys saw the match against Dom at Madison Square Garden, right? It was on Twitter. The whole thing was on Twitter.
No, I didn't watch it.
It was about 13 minutes. Okay. And Punk, he was heaving because it's like, okay, first of all, it's a garden. Right. So that's one thing, right? It's like, oh God, it's sink or swim. There is no reputation stuff. Either you suck or you're the greatest because it's New York, right? Mm-hmm. There's no in between. There's no, it's CM Punk. They'll give you the adulation when you come to the ring, but if you suck, they'll boo you out of the building. And it was just okay. Punk was sucking some wind there because he hadn't wrestled for a while. So I just think getting his wind back, in his body in shape for what's to come, I think was smart by WWE.
What do we have at number 3, Brian?
Speaking of special, we saw possibly a tease for the main event of AEW Revolution, the Young Bucks coming out last night, staring down Sting and Darby Allin. Let's fill in the blank. Young Bucks and Sting's final match is blank.
I've run the gamut of emotions over the last 24 hours thinking about this, but I think I've arrived at a spot where it feels right. And here's why. Because clearly Sting, like, this wasn't Tony Khan. Like, this was clearly Sting going, hey, I want to say thank you to two guys that probably helped bring him back into professional wrestling. And Sting thinks that he can tell a good story and have fun. And this also signifies to me that Sting's not going out on his back. Like, I mean, the Young Bucks don't need that rub of Sting of pinning his shoulders to the mat. Or if they want to be these mega douchey heels that they appear to be after coming out last night in the outfits they had with the thin little mustaches, if you want to get him the nuclear heat, they end up, putting Sting on his back and they get that heat. But I think it seems appropriate to me because I've come to the conclusion that clearly this is what Sting wants. And I think you can tell a pretty good story with those two versus the Young Bucks over the next 2 months.
Well, guys, I really believe when I first saw them come out, first of all, it's at Daly's Place. What a great venue. It's a great venue because it's different than it's just different from everything else we see in wrestling. It's just kind of like, hey, so what happened to the right side of the fans? No, they have a stage and it comes out and just the crowd's always hot. It was cold in Jacksonville, but those fans were into almost every match on Dynamite. That's a tribute to the fans in Jacksonville in that facility, in that Daly's Place. I thought it was really cool. And you heard the crowd reaction to the Young Bucks because we haven't seen them on our TVs for a while. And people were like a little bit of a gas, like, oh, the Young Bucks, look at this. How about that, Gabe? Here they come, right? So the reason why I believe that this is great for Sting and Darby is because there's no tag team in AEW that can carry another tag team like the Young Bucks. It's just a fact. Think about it. Private Party's best match was against the Young Bucks. Right? You think about the Young Bucks against the Hardys. The Hardys are terrible now because they're up in age and they're crippled. And that's just a fact. You saw that match and it was kind of like the Young Bucks said, don't worry, we got you. We got you guys. We'll handle it because even though the Young Bucks are up in age, they know how to be able to fly. They can be able to carry a match. So I know what maybe you guys were thinking because I was thinking the same thing. Oh, God. I mean, so it's Sting against the Young Bucks, and the Super Kick Party could just like end Sting's life. But I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that they'll be gentle with Sting. They'll put the heat on Darby, and I think the match is going to be fine. That more than likely will be the main event at Revolution, and I think it's going to be okay.
Flair's definitely taking a super kick, right?
Hopefully.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Hopefully.
I thought he was going to take a bump. I was ready for him to take a bump last night. I really thought that was going to happen
last night. I thought Hobbs was going to break him.
I was hoping. And I love Ric Flair, but just the idea that you get a spot on Dynamite, get the hell out of the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy that's always dressed clean. Jeans? What, did he lose his luggage? Jeans? Bad jeans. Old man jeans. Get out of there, Flair. Like you're chopping, and then of course your spot is the Roddy Piper spot, just the eye poke, and then get out. He can barely get out of the ring. Get out. But you didn't like that analysis I gave, bro. I could tell. I laid out how the Young Bucks are very good at carrying a tag team that's underneath them, and I think that works. You're not so sure.
Yeah, okay. You have something?
Well, no, I was going to say, because the other thing I would say, like the other team that could probably carry another tag team are the Lucha Bros. Now, Ray's injured right now, but the Lucha Bros, unfortunately, because of the language gap and their English isn't great, like they don't carry stories. Like those guys put on banger matches, but they're not carrying on these long blood feuds and stories other than the feud they have with the Young Bucks because, well, they've had like 7 bangers in AEW in their time together. And, they've reached fight forever status anytime those two tag teams get together. So the other tag team that could potentially do the things that you're talking about, I just don't think could tell the same story that you're going to be able to get, because you're going to get mic time with Darby and Sting, and you're going to get mic time with the Jacksons, and I think that they're going to be able to do something good.
Yeah, and that's it. I think FTR you could put in that boat. So that's the thing. I agree with everything you're saying about the in-ring stuff. I think the match will be good, and we've seen that from Sting. Like last night was good. Him taking that bump like through the table, which he almost missed. Like it was entertaining. It was a good match. I think it'll be similar to that. And maybe I get hooked, but like I just don't know what the story is yet. And maybe I think I've convinced myself that it was going to be him versus Darby. Like I guess we're just never going to get a Sting one-on-one match, which obviously is something he doesn't want, but I'd like to see that as the final match. Like him versus Darby, let Darby get the win and go out that way.
Yeah, I'm betting that he probably doesn't think he can put on a full 13 to 15 minute match by himself at this point.
Yeah, he can't do it.
Sure,
I think, and that's okay. At 62,
right?
I understand.
I didn't think he looked this good at 62.
Right?
Yeah, he can't do it. I think it's the match that we all thought like, your last match should be a singles match, Stinger Splash, Scorpion Death Lock or drop 1, 2, 3, right? Or tap, and it just I don't think he can do it. And
I'm sure he saw the Flair one is like, I'm not doing that.
That's okay. And that's okay.
And that was
fine too. But I also think that, I mean, he's had his best matches when they've done these no rules, like last night was a tornado tag where he can get protected a little bit more, so it's not just the lights being shown on him to do all this technical wrestling work in the middle of a ring where, I mean, how many times he's jumped off a bunch of things. He did the Scorpion Death Drop onto the table last night. Like he's done a lot of the high flying stunts. And that's what's kind of made this AEW run such a memorable one for Sting.
Yeah, and not to be critical of Sting, because I'm not, because this is going to be his last match coming up. But there's some times, guys, in some of these tornado tag team matches where Sting's gotten lost.
Sure.
Yeah. We've seen it just like, okay, he just doesn't know what the next spot is and has admitted it like, hey, that's on me. I got lost in the match.
Well,
I'll give you
Sammy
another
Guevara told the story, I believe, with Chris Van Vliet, where Sammy hit that 450 through the table on Sting, and he was worried he'd kill Sting because the spot was Sting was supposed to move. And he just didn't get out of the way fast enough, so Sammy got him with it.
He forgot.
And he was so concerned that he killed Sting right there.
Yeah, he forgot. Like,
do you imagine that feeling?
Yeah.
Do you imagine that feeling like, oh no,
I wasn't supposed to hit him. Like, Sammy can't do anything else.
But the great thing is that, I mentioned that little thing about Sting, why he might forget some spots. You can understand he's been in a million matches, but it's not embarrassing. That's the thing. No. It has not been embarrassing. AEW, to their credit, has handled Sting better than WWE did with Goldberg or The Undertaker, without question. The other example, by the way, I was going to give is the Young Bucks against Top Flight. That was on a Rampage last year. Now, again, Dante Martin and Darius Martin, they are high flyers, but you could just tell from the Young Bucks, they're like, okay, just settle in here, just settle in, just calm down so we can have a good match. That's because the Young Bucks. Now, this is the same Young Bucks I used to resent because I got so tired of them having the Young Bucks match. Oh, God, here comes the Young Bucks match. That means they can do whatever they want to, super kick party, never mind about the official, no rules, whatever, right? They've settled in now and can slow down as veterans to be able to command the match, not trying to take it over, but just to settle it in. And I think that they'll do that in appreciation for Sting. I think those are great opponents for Sting and Darby.
Yeah, I did appreciate JR last night shouting out the fact that there were no rules, so he didn't have to complain about the officials. So
Son of a bitch, Triple H! My God, man.
I've come around, and I understand probably people's mileage may vary on the Young Bucks, and I've been one where when they won that that tag team opportunity, whenever that was eventually taken from them by Jericho and Omega. Like, I was like, okay, they really didn't need that. Like, what are we doing here? I think if they kind of settle into this, being sparingly used for only big time things, I think we can become more appreciative of the Young Bucks a little bit more. The way that I think the WWE fan base became more appreciative of John Cena after he was, when it was, let's go Cena sucks and the 5 moves of doom, like everybody hated Cena. But when he left and you had an opportunity to miss him and then he comes back, like he's pretty universally adored at this point. If you save the Young Bucks for a lot of these big time matches, if you save them for another great tag match with, the Lucha Brothers and do stuff like that, or, FTR and keep doing some of the bigger things, I think you can do that with the Young Bucks. And maybe this kicks that off with what they're able to do with Darby and Sting.
Yeah, I mean, and bro, you could have that singles Sting match, but you'd have to do it the way AJ Styles and The Undertaker did it. It had to be one of those. And to heavily edit it, you could do it that way. Like Anarchy in the stadium match, in which it's Sting and he's going up the stairs, and you just kind of chop it up to make a nice match. But it's better this way.
Oh no, this is so much better than the way we had to watch Taker. Like you specifically mentioned him. Like it was rough watching Taker go out those last few minutes. Even though that was once a year, it was rough. Like I haven't felt that way at all with Sting in the ring.
Yeah, because they've done a good job protecting him, and yeah, I think it's been pretty spectacular. What do we got in news and notes this week, Brian?
All right, we got a busy Saturday night of pro wrestling. How about 10 o'clock live from Norfolk? After AEW Collision, it's Battle of the Belts 9. Tag titles on the line. Ricky Starks and Big Bill defending against Jericho and Sammy Guevara. And Julia Hart defends the TBS title against Anna Jay. Those are the only 2 matches announced so far.
I'm going to get divorced. After 23 years of marriage, I think that the wife has had enough. Because there's just so much wrestling now, man. It's just, I mean, Battle of the Belts, because that's what we need. Just more wrestling on Saturday.
Wait, I got
night.
more. Saturday, 8 o'clock from Vegas. TNA Wrestling Hard to Kill. Alex Shelley defends the world title against Moose. Trinity defends the knockout title against Jordan Grace. And TNA has promised, quote, worlds will collide. You won't believe who is showing up. You got to tune into that.
How come that's not a question on here? Like, who's showing up for TNA? I don't see that on the bottom of the screen. Where's who's showing up for TNA?
Who will show up?
Johnny TV.
Sure. No problem. I got no problem with that. So
Cyrus?
Because of what are you trying to kill the company? You trying to
the
kill
former
the
NWA world champion right there.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Jinder. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. Yes. Thank you very much. And by the way, the show for TNA Hard to Kill is going to be on Triller TV powered by Fight. So that's what's going to happen there. And so I'll be checking that out on Saturday because you know what? And I actually am interested because they're going to be in Vegas. I want to see what that crowd looks like. I saw the setup and it's kind of like it's auditorium and like the stage is set up like a comedy act. I'm like, so where's the ring going to be? It can't be just on the stage. They had to move some chairs out, right? It was weird to look at. They'll figure it out though. I think it's close to a sellout. So
is Battle of the Belts necessary anymore? Because I just assumed that they did Battle of the Belts to like get more things on TNT. But once they added Collision, like Battle of the Belts just seems like, okay, you've got your 2 hours of wrestling on TNT every week. What do we have to do these random Battle of the Belts? Like, we don't
they're
need
always
these.
Forgotten. Like it makes no sense why these.
Oh yeah, no, and clearly Tony forgets about him.
Yeah.
Anna Jay, come on down. You earned yourself a TBS title opportunity. Go ahead and
good luck.
Fight Julia Hart.
Two things, well, guys. Two things with that. If they're going to pay you to put on more wrestling, that's fine. But you have to try to find a way to make it special. Maybe this should just be on YouTube. It shouldn't be on TV because it becomes skippable, like Rampage at times. Like, I mean, nothing against the performers. It's just the idea that Battle of the Belts is supposed to be like Saturday Night's Main Event or Clash of Champions, a special. But it's not special if it's aligned with another show that's right before it. It's not. We've seen this before. We've laughed at this as a show. Like, it's Collision, and then there's like no real open for Battle of the Belts. It's just a slate. Battle of the Belts. And it's just like, all right, guys, we're back. What do you mean back? I thought it was a special show. What do you mean back?
And that's why once you had a Collision, like if this was its own standalone thing on Saturday, it could feel special. But like you said, either now it ends up going on after Rampage on Fridays, or it goes on after Collision. So it's just like the after party of those two shows.
I
get
don't
excited
know.
Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be watching a lot of it. So I've got busted open on Sunday, so yeah, I'll be watching a lot of it. But I'm going to check out TNA for the show, so we can talk about it next week because I am actually interested in finding out how new or different this is, and because of wrestling free agency, anybody can show up in Vegas. Anybody can show up, and whatever that is, that's fine.
It's the first TNA pay-per-view, the return to TNA.
Yeah, so I'll check it out. We'll see.
We mentioned them earlier, the Hardys. Jeff Hardy on Instagram posting last night, the Hardys will not be appearing on Dynamite and, quote, they are stuck in the dimension of AEW Rampage.
That's where they belong. I don't know if I know I'm the only one on this panel that watched them wrestle on Friday. It's bad.
It is.
Like, it's they tried to do a spot. They tried to do poetry in motion. If you're familiar with the Hardy Boys the last 20, 30 years, you're probably familiar with this move. Matt gets down on all fours with an opponent in the corner. Well, in this instance, they had two of theirs, 6-man tags. So they had two of their three opponents in the corner. And he goes for poetry in motion where he usually steps on Matt's back and ends up kind of launching himself sideways into the opponent. He ended up stepping on Matt's back, slipping and face planting into the opponent.
Oh.
It was very awkward. Good job, for the announce crew for AEW. A splash was done in the corner. He did his best to try to save it. It could not be saved. I love the Hardys. I respect everything they've done for professional wrestling. But much like watching Ric Flair's last match, I don't need to see this again. You guys just don't move like you used to, and that's fine because you guys did a lot of things to your bodies over the years. And it's just, you don't have any more in you. And I know that's probably tough for them to hear because you see Edge, you see Christian out there doing their thing right now, especially in the same company. But at the same time, they didn't do the same thing. I mean, Edge had 9 years off. Christian didn't do the same things in terms of the high-flying spots that you guys have done over the years. And unfortunately, that's taken their toll, and your careers aren't just going to be as long.
Yeah, guys, it's just sad now. That's all it is. It's just sad because they're already Hall of Famers. We know how great that they were. It's funny, though, is that almost every arena they go to, because I've seen it live, when the first chord of that song hits, they're open, their music, the fans they pop every time because they respect the Hardys, and then the bell rings.
Right.
And that's just what it is. They're veterans. They should not be bitching about being on Rampage. They got a problem with it? Call Paul Levesque.
That's the issue. It's one thing to not have it, but then to be so openly defiant of it. This isn't the first time they've openly bitched about we're stuck on Rampage. Oh, we're not on TV. It's you don't really deserve TV time right now.
The idea that you say that you're stuck on Rampage, you should just be blessed that you're actually on TV, that someone is actually willing to watch you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just, I don't understand that attitude. They think that they should be on the same channel, on the same time slot as Christian and Edge, and what the magic that they're making? No, thank you. No, you don't deserve that. Not now. But again, hats off to everything that you've done, but you should be winding down, trying to help the next generation behind the scenes.
Elsewhere in AEW, DJ Woo Kid was on Jim and Sam's show talking about the fight at All In. Says there was a lot of fighting and cursing. He thought it was all supposed to be fake in regard to CM Punk. And the big quote, talking about who broke it up, he said, quote, "The big guy, the Hawaiian-looking dude. He was the guy going ham." And I was like, oh, shit. So there's your Samoa Joe breakdown.
The Hawaiian-looking guy.
Yeah. CM Punk saves today, or Samoa Joe saves today.
And I'm glad that he was able to identify that because, we have two Samoa Joes in wrestling now.
Fair, yeah.
It's Samoa Joe and Joe from WWE. So you have two Samoans named Joe as a heavyweight champion. So I'm glad he was able to identify at least one Samoan that was there. So at least we got some clarity, right? From one eyewitness that says that Samoa Joe was trying to break things up, which was actually what we heard, in which Samoa Joe told CM Punk, "Hey man, let's just get in the ring," because Punk was going to leave.
Right.
Remember, he was going to, and so they was like, "All right, let's just do the match."
And then they did one hell of a match because that's what those two guys go.
Yes.
Yeah, it ended up being a great match. So do we think that Joe being AEW champion now is related to his role in that? Because I don't think Joe's run here is going to be very long.
Yeah.
Because you got Swerve heating up right behind him. And I'm okay with that too, because Joe's a little bit older. And again, I love Samoa Joe on my television. I thought he caught a hell of a promo last night. Anytime you put a microphone in that man's hands, good things are going to happen. But as hot as Swerve is, I would hate to see Samoa Joe kind of slow down the Swerve momentum.
I agree. Let's stick with Samoans. The Rock posting on Instagram backstage pics from his Monday Night Raw appearance and adding, quote, "And now we make history, raise the bar and do things that have never been done before in WWE."
All right, raise the bar. Where have I heard that before?
We are the bar.
I don't think that's where we've heard that before.
Oh, no?
At Mania?
No, I think we've heard that in meetings every month about raising the bar. Yes, I think we've heard that.
Maybe Dwayne's listening.
So I'm glad you brought up The Rock. I'm glad you brought him up because I think we can circle back to our conversation last week. Guys, the more and more I think about our show last week, the more and more I think that The Rock and The Rock as well as Roman Reigns could be the main event at Elimination Chamber, and in which The Rock wins the championship. I'm thinking about it now, and here's why. Apparently, the people in Australia really want The Rock badly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is part of, as a geography minor, I should know this. Is this not part of the Pacific Rim, the South Pacific, Australia? Look that up, bro. Look it up. No, look it up. Look it up before we go off the air. Our time is limited.
Rim.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that imagine that matchup with Roman Reigns and The Rock and the audience that would really enjoy that. So I would say that now more than ever, because Australia is willing to pay is through the nose to get that match. When you have tourism that's willing to pay that, then I'm starting to think that might be the main event.
So then
you just run that main event back at Mania?
No, I think that there's a Cody Rhodes in there. There's a Roman in there. They're going to figure out something. But they want The Rock. Let me ask you this.
Well, again, that's where I could see The Rock, because again, Roman does not need the championship. It is about family supremacy. So I think you can still have The Rock show up there and be, the reason that Roman loses the title to a Cody Rhodes, and then
no, like Rock against Roman in Australia, and Roman wins with momentum into WrestleMania against Cody. That's on the table. Is that not on the table? Because Rock's not winning the title. Is he going to make the house shows in Toledo? He's not.
Roman doesn't make the house shows in Toledo.
That show starts at like 6 a.m. Eastern. Like, they're not wasting The Rock on that. I feel like.
Like, I think The Rock can show up there, but I don't know if you're wasting your. Because presumably this is going to be Rock's last match, right?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know that for sure.
I feel like this is going to be Rock's last match.
I'm just saying. Look, I'm just saying that. Do not be surprised if you do see that as the main event in Australia. Nice. Because again, this is all the big circle jerk about Cody Rhodes and whether or not can he finish the story? Will he win in Philadelphia at WrestleMania? How do you get there? Do you get a three-way dance with Cody and Rock and Roman? It's going to be the Roman and Cody 2? Is that going to be the match? How does Rock involve himself? I don't know. I'm just saying that Australia is making a big push to have that match. I'm telling you.
I understand.
Saudi Arabia wanted Yokozuna, and that Vince couldn't pull that off.
Different money, pal. Things change.
I just don't think you waste your one match with The Rock and put it on in Australia.
Yes.
Waste?
Yeah, it would be a waste because not a lot of people are going to watch that show here in the States.
You give them Rhea in the main event, everyone goes home happy.
The three of us will watch it.
Well, eventually, we're not watching it live.
No, but we're going to watch it, though. If it's The Rock, we're going to watch it when we can watch it.
Sure.
And by the way, the reason why that they go to Saudi Arabia or to Australia and they're going to be going to France is because it doesn't matter anymore. The UFC has proven that. Like, they can go anywhere. You can watch it when you want to watch it. This is how television is now. As much as a live sport still matters in television, you can still watch it when you want to. And I think WWE is taking that attitude like, hey, we got the money. These countries are paying us.
Right.
So whatever we get from Peacock or whatever streaming service, we're good. That's gravy.
Yeah. But I think you're doing your partner in Peacock a disservice. More people are going to sign up for The Rock and WrestleMania because those are two things that are synonymous and recognizable to people who do not already have that service.
I'm just telling you that Australia's making a big push. Don't let me be right on this show now. I'll have it clipped and I'll have it sent.
Wait, you're wrong all the time in the show? No, you're always right on this show. I don't know what you're trying to paint yourself in this corner. That you're this.
I'm not the wrestling genius. I'm just saying, I'm throwing a theory out there that Australia really wants this match. That don't mean that they're going to get it. I just think that's fascinating that they've really made this push.
All right.
And by the way, the opinion on that for me is The Rock on a show that's not WrestleMania is less than because it's not a tentpole event. I would agree with you. that is WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think things have changed in WWE in that regard, where the tentpole events we used to know, they'll just take money all the time and just keep going to these stadium events. Think they're all big.
What if Rumble is Punk wins, he challenges Rollins, Elimination Chamber is Elimination Chamber. What if you throw Rock in there and he wins it?
In the chamber?
Yep.
No. He's not going to do
You can
the
hide
chamber.
him enough. Like, he's the last guy to enter. He's not going through any glass.
He can't get in there. He's too big. He's too muscle bound to get in there. Sideways. Excuse me. It's like me trying to get into an airport bathroom. Just, pardon me. Sliding in there. We broke Nightzel. There is one bit of news. Did you see this? This one bit of news?
No.
NWA. It crossed while I just retweeted it. GKW_wrestling on Twitter, on X. We are thrilled to announce that the all-new NWA programming will appear on the CW starting February 6th.
Wow.
Hey, good for them. Cocaine Spot didn't cost them after all.
You know what it says here? It says at the CW app. Does that they're not knocking off Live Golf yet. I think it might be just living on the app right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where a lot of Live Golf lives as well, because they do a lot of international events that are only live on the app.
They are in Fort Lauderdale this weekend. Standing room only for the NWA. They don't have seats, but standing room only for everyone there. So that's pretty impressive. No chairs. Still impressive.
So February 6th, so Cocaine Bump Spot, it's okay. They're going to actually go through the CW app. It's probably, you know what? It makes sense for them to be on the app first. If it's good enough programming, enough people are into it, then they'll find a platform on the CW Sports tier.
Yeah.
On a weekend or something for their shows to be aired. But the app, that's a good start for the NWA. They're dead on their ass right now. So I wish it would have happened during the 10 pounds of gold. Oh, when it was really hot.
God, they hate, when Power was first starting coming. Yeah, no, we don't need to dive into that. Is that it for news and notes?
That is it.
Although, I mean, Mickey James has a new job now.
Mickey James is joining OVW as creative director and head of female talent, as well as EP for TV. So congrats to a friend of the show, Mickey James.
That is great for OVW. Jones and company had a smart hire there, and I think Mickey and Nick live in Nashville, so that's pretty easy drive. So it's easy. So I think that works for them. And they're looking for TV at some point because of the success of their Netflix series. So told you, 2024, very interesting bedfellows.
Yeah, may have to pay attention a little more to OVW as well when we get to a segment like this. What are your boys' matches of the week?
Another half hour. Okay.
Yeah. Buckle down.
No, actually, this will be quick, though. So I'll just start off first. I'll say I like Kevin Owens against Santos Escobar.
Yep.
This is a good kickoff on SmackDown. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Broads, what did you like?
I like that as well. I also, from SmackDown, I liked Io versus Mia Yim.
Yeah. Excuse me? Against who?
Mia Yim. I know her actual real name.
You're not going to call her Mitchin?
No. That Styles Clash.
What you call it? Wait, Mitchin?
That's why I don't even try. I don't know. It's Mia Yim.
No, this guy here. That's a Midwestern.
Mitchin's not her name? It's not.
No, it's not Midwesterner like me. It's Mitchin. It's not bitchin'. No, it's just Meechin. It's the old Midwestern game night, so called her Mitchin. There we go. I like that Mitchin. Meechin. For God's sakes, Neitzel. Tell me you're from the Tell me you're from the Midwest when I tell me you're from the Midwest. I like Mitchin.
I did like that match. I've got it written down as well. But no, the Avalanche Styles Clash was great. And also, like, the faceplant that she took on the suicide dive when Io Sky got out of the way, I'm like, oh, she is just selling out. She is all in on this match. And it was great. And again, it was a great showcase of Io Sky and gives me some hope that maybe Hunter will start doing some more things with Meechin going forward.
Yeah. The other one I throw out there from last night, Hangman versus Claudio. Awesome way to open the show. Like those two. You talk about bumps. That first one, just throwing Hangman out of the ring onto that little ramp area. I was like, is he okay?
I really enjoyed that match because it elevated Hangman Page. I know some like I'll get this reference, but Magnum TA, when he's in the NWA, always looked like a heel to me because he had the thick mustache, right? He was aligned with Dusty Rhodes all the time, but he's always a baby face. Got cut down because of a motorcycle accident, but he's getting this Magnum TA thick like mustache that makes him look even more meaner.
It's just thicker than the rest of the beard.
Yeah, it's a little something. It's a little tweak because it looks like a heel mustache to me.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, if nothing else, at least an added attitude. I like it. That was a really good match to start off Dynamite.
And I'll also throw out just as a preview for next week if you need. If you haven't canceled your New Japan World yet, Battle in the Valley this week. Also Saturday night, Okada versus Ospreay in the main event there on New Japan from San Jose.
I'm sorry, Hood.
Moxley's on the show. Eddie defends his titles. Matt Riddle on the show. So yeah,
I hope you have 3 screens where you can pay attention to all this.
Yeah, I mean, I got 3 screens, but I'm gonna have to use your couch to sleep on. I mean, this is insane.
Hey, me and my wife are going through the process of buying a house. We got plenty of space for you up here in Milwaukee, pal.
I mean, and again, I can't complain about it because that's good wrestling, guys.
Yeah,
that's good wrestling.
Yeah.
You got, I mean, that's where it's like, okay, and again, if some of these shows you can pick and choose. All right, let me just scroll through this and. These are the 2-3 matches I want to see on this card. TNA. Let me see. I mean, but it's still time consuming. We're huge wrestling fans, but boy, there's a bandwidth to it. There's some point at some point you got to sleep.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Those are great matches.
Okada Ospreay Saturday night. Get excited.
From Raw, it was a shorter match, but I thought they made the most of their time. Ivar versus Otis was fantastic. Like, they just both showed off their athleticism, both did a couple of ridiculous things. It was just meaty men slapping meat. It was the hoss fights that we needed on Monday Night Raw. And then going back to Collision, no shocker, FTR versus House of Black. That was the main event. That was spectacular.
Yes.
Yep.
I thought a match that I was going to put down, but as a little bit of a miss, and that was Sammy Guevara's matchup against... on Wednesday.
He was
Starks.
Ricky Starks.
You know, there was a problem with that match. Like the ending was clunky. It's almost like Sammy's like, all right, F it. Let's just get out of here. Because even though on paper you're like, this could be a good match. It just shows you when you don't put time on the road to work out the kinks, it looked like Dynamite. It was just okay, but it could have been more dynamic. You could tell the two are trying to do something, and then that weird roll up. I think Sammy just let's just go home. This is a mess.
Yeah,
it didn't work.
I think there's some rust there probably from Sammy. I mean, because he's been off, hasn't really wrestled a lot because he was out with the concussion, out with birth of their first child, and he had a long time off where he wasn't wrestling, and I think a lot of that rust showed, unfortunately, in that match.
Yep.
The Ciampa match against Ludwig Kaiser.
Mm-hmm.
Ludwig Kaiser, by the way, this might be a blessing with him as a single. I think he can actually do something as a single. He's got all the facials. I mean, he's the guy that takes a beating from Gunther's verbal beating. I think he can actually be something as a singles. I do.
Even the payoff, like, are you ready for him beating Gunther? Like, I feel we've forgotten about it recently.
Not him. No,
can't be him.
I'm waiting for Gunther Brock at WrestleMania.
Okay.
That might steal the show.
You want to talk about meaty men slapping meat?
that first chop on Brock's gonna be like, wait, this is real?
Yeah.
What?
No, you. Word of warning to Gunther. That first chop, I know you want to hit him real hard. I know you want to give him that good one. You know, if you make Brock Lesnar mad, that very well could be your last match.
Yeah.
Seriously, one of my favorite videos that I show people from time to time, it's when Braun Strowman was in a match with Brock, and Braun kind of catches him with a stiff knee. And seconds later, Brock catches him with a receipt.
Oh,
he punches him straight in the face, and Braun like stumbles back after he just caught a hooking right hand. Just whoa,
Shoot.
okay.
Shoot.
And Braun's sort of a big guy.
Yeah, you don't want to upset the alpha male of our species. Shout out to Pat McAfee.
Yes, yeah. I'm just telling you, like that first chop, and then Brock turns beat red, because that's going to happen in every match where it looks like he's having a heart attack. Yeah, that'll be problematic. That might turn real. You might need other officials there to break him up.
Who's pulling those two apart though?
Wrestlers in the back. Just try to
Brock will let him go when he's done.
Oh my God.
Now I'm excited for that potential at WrestleMania. It could be a really good WrestleMania season. It could be a really good just wrestling season in general in 2024. Prayers, obviously, for our guy Jay Hood that he survived Saturday night and is able to consume all of the wrestling. But always make sure you catch him on Sirius XM Busted Open on Sunday morning. Make sure you check that out 9 a to 12 p Eastern time on Sunday. Also, if you're just listening to this podcast, we also do a video portion. Comment, subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/@GoodKarmaWrestling. It was a fun week, boys, and I know it's going to be a fun week next week as well. We're on the road to WrestleMania. We're on the road to the Rumble. Things are looking up right now here on